محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم آمين. Just one reminder, inshallah ta'ala, the polls open. They opened 1 minute ago. So if you are on your way out, inshallah ta'ala, please don't forget to cast your vote today. All the polling stations in Virginia are now open. Please make sure you do so, inshallah. The lines will be not so long right now compared to possibly later in the day. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. By the grace of Allah Azza wa Jal, we've now come to verse number 32 of Surah al-Mā'idah. Ustad Adam actually started the beginning portion of this verse because it's tied to the previous story. If you recall, the story that we were covering in Surah al-Mā'idah was a story of what is known as the first murder in Islam. Or actually, I shouldn't say it like that. The first murder in humanity. Right? This was the murder of the children of Adam alayhi salam. So Cain killing Abel, Qabil killing Habil. Right? This is what transpired in the very first generation of humanity. And as such, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relates to us the story even to the point of showing the regret that Cain had for the killing of his brother. That even a crow had to come and show him what to do with the body once it had died, not knowing that he should be burying the body after it's dead, after one dies. And it was said, subhanAllah, I was reading in some of the Tafsir that in some of them they said that Adam alayhi salam never smiled after this, or never laughed, I should say. Never laughed after this crime had been committed. He was so struck with sadness and sorrow. Right? This is what a grave effect that it had on him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the very last part now of this surah, of this story, in verse number 32, He sets forth very important principles for all of us. It's important for us to spend just a few minutes talking about that today. Where He says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل النفس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا ولقد جاءتهم رسلنا بالبينات ثم إن كثيرا منهم بعد ذلك في الأرض لمسرفون. Because of that is, given the story that we have of Cain and Abel, and the fact that he became nadimin, regretful. Because of that, we decreed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, upon the children of Israel, that whoever kills a soul, unless whoever kills a soul, except for retribution or for corruption in the land, it is as if he has killed all of mankind. And whoever saves one, it is as if he has saved all of mankind. Now, you and I probably have heard this verse before, and we've seen it quoted in many times. I want to spend just a few minutes for all of us to understand that the sanctity of life in Islam is paramount. The sanctity of life itself. The Sharia itself, many of the Mufassirin they talk about, or many of the scholars or ulama, they say that one of the 5 objectives of the Sharia is preservation of life. In other words, if you could dwindle down everything in the Sharia that you have, there's really 5 maqasid. Right? And the first of that is the preservation of life. This is not something to be taken lightly. And unfortunately, the Prophet ﷺ, he told us that at the end of time, killing would become so rampant that the one killed nor the one killing would know why they had done it. That's how rampant it would become. That both the one who is killed and the one who is killing, they don't even know why they're doing it. In previous times, subhanAllah, you had to really make an effort to kill somebody. What do I mean by that? You had to be in close proximity to them. You had to go and search somebody out and take a knife or some type of other object and kill them. Or, of course, you did that in warfare, hand-to-hand combat. That was the norm. Then with the gunpowder empires, what ended up happening was you had people that could kill from a far distance. You could be standing way back here and shoot a bullet, and the bullet could go and kill other people. And now all of a sudden it became a lot more indiscriminate. You couldn't look into the eyes of somebody before you killed them. Right? The way that it was in previous times. Then now unfortunately what's happening is that you have people that are being killed in a blanket manner by remote control. There's not even a hand-to-hand, there's no human beings involved. It's all just drones and bombs and artillery that's remote controlled. And this is why it's important for us to understand that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the killing of one soul is equivalent to killing all of humanity, right? Why is that? Because if you can desensitize yourself to killing one person, you can just go on a killing spree. You can kill yourself. You can kill tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. Allah subhanahu, and we see this, by the way, playing out right in front of our eyes on television and via social media with what's happening in Gaza and other places in the world. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of lives lost. As if it's nothing. As if there's no, that those people are not affecting, that they don't have families around them. That they don't have loved ones. That there's not this generational trauma that's being inflicted upon them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, we decreed that whoever kills a soul, except for two reasons. Number one, that they have killed somebody. And number two, that they're spreading fasad on the earth, which is actually defined according to some of the mufassirin in the next verse that we'll talk about tomorrow. Right? So there are reasons or exceptions to taking the life of another person. But to be clear, brothers and sisters, and as Ustad Adam mentioned yesterday, we are not a vigilante religion. What does that mean? We don't take law into our own hands and go and execute it. There's a reason that you have political systems or governments in place to do that. The government has a discretion to say, hey, this individual, they have murdered or killed other people. Or this individual is sowing corruption on the earth. Right? They have foregone the right. And by the way, that again, the next verse we'll talk about it. But the armed assault and robbery and those types of things, there's specific crimes that constitute spreading corruption on the earth. Right? And those are the only legit reasons. And even for that, not for you as an individual, but for the government to say, hey, we're going to step in here. We're going to step in and stop this from happening. So, I remember one of my teachers once said that how is it fair that if a person kills one person, they get the sin of killing all of humanity? That doesn't seem equivalent. It's not fair to do it like that. Right? And it's because the life of one person, right, represents the life of all of humanity. You and I are connected. You and I and everybody in the society around us, we're all brothers and sisters in humanity. Maybe not in deen, but in humanity for sure. And so for us to go and take vengeance out or to kill somebody, it's as if we are just cutting that entire relationship off from all of humanity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's elevating the life of one individual to being equivalent to all of humanity. Right? And this is why it's very, there are very strict guidelines around when a life can be taken. This idea, Ustad Adam talked yesterday about capital punishment, right? It's not just applied willy-nilly. In fact, I would argue, and this is just Shahid Imam's opinion, but the way capital punishment is instituted in this country is actually not allowed. Right? The systemic racism that is blatant in the system itself, right? I don't believe it should be supported in this manner. Right? It's very important for us to understand that these are serious matters. Life is a serious thing. It's not to be taken just for granted or just, kind of like, this person died and that person died. Or this person was killed or that person was killed. Now, in the same way, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say next? The one who has saved the life of one person, it's as if he has saved all of humanity. The one who has saved one life. Right? To go out of your way to try and revive your brother or your sister, to try and go out of your way to save them from committing some type of either a crime or atrocity, all of that. It's as if they've saved all of mankind. To save the life of one individual. This is, again, brothers and sisters, the sanctity of life. This is how honorable it is. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَقَدْ كَرَمْنَا بَنِي Adam, we have honored the children of Adam. Right? What is he saying? He's saying that every life is precious, brothers and sisters. Every single one. We can't let our emotions or our feelings or our impulses or any of that. No, all of that has to be muted. That's not how you live in society. In society, you're going to have people who disagree with you. You're going to have ones who will drive you crazy by the things that they're doing. But you are not allowed to take it out on them by taking their life. Or by getting rid of or taking the lives of the people around them. SubhanAllah. So he mentions here, Allah Azza wa Jal, that if he had saved, whoever saves one life, it's as if he has saved all of mankind. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ جَاءَتْهُمْ رُسُلُنَا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ ثُمَّ إِنَّ كَثِيرًا مِّنْهُمْ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ فِي الْأَرْضِ لَمُسْرِفُونَ. He says, and our messengers had certainly come to them with clear proofs. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not leave our life up to chance. He sent us messengers to guide us. He sent us examples to follow. He sent us people that could be emulated. And in the same way he sent this to Bani Israel, he sent them prophet after prophet after prophet to try and bring them back to the path every single time. And then he sent us Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, again, to bring us back to the message. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, we brought these prophets with clear proofs, bayyinat. It was clear that they were prophets. But what did he say? That indeed, كَثِيرٌ مِّنْهُمْ ثُمَّ إِنَّ كَثِيرٌ مِّنْهُمْ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ فِي الْأَرْضِ لَمُسْرِفُونَ. Indeed, many of them, even after they were sent example after example, prophet after prophet, throughout the land, they transgressed. They committed israf, musrifun. They were going above the limits, above and beyond the limits that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had placed. Brothers and sisters, our objective is to follow the message. Not to try and create loopholes in it, not to try and figure out ways around it. Allah has commanded as such, and so we will follow as such. That's what the messengers brought. And this is why in our religion we believe in the message of all of the messengers. Not just Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Because we believe he brought a message that was the same as the previous prophets. And indeed, in accepting his message, we accept the message of the previous prophets. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying here that by doing so, we want to refrain or prevent ourselves from becoming those transgressors. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to the best of all decisions and the best of all ways. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq in all of our affairs. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cleanse our hearts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us spiritually resilient. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the best of outcomes. May Allah azza wa jal grant us the ability to forgive others and grant us the ability to be forgiven. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us spouses and children that will be the comfort of our eyes and make us leaders of the righteous. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَاجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا رَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لَنَا وَلِوَالِدِينَا وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَوْمَ يَقُومُ الْحِسَابُ ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبارك وسلموا تسليما كثيرا كثيرا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.